Hello there. My name is George Heinrich, known to many as a postal professor, and it's my honor to be your host and guide through these training sessions provided by Mailers Hub. So if you're ready, let's get started. This first module is called Shape-Based Processing, or as I like to call it, yes, size does matter. Here you're going to learn about letters, flats, and parcels, and how their size relates directly to postage costs. Today, we're going to start Lesson 1, the basics. What's important to understand how size impacts postage costs. There's no doubt about this. The premise is pretty simple. The larger the piece, the higher the postage. And when you affix a wrong amount of postage, it can be a waste of money, sometimes thousands of dollars. Or if you don't put on enough postage, the piece may be returned for additional postage, and sometimes it actually goes back to the addressee, and you sure don't want that to happen. So postage costs are broken into many categories, but the basics are letters, flats, and parcels. And regulations will determine which category the pieces will fall into. So it's important to understand how the USPS processes mail. One way is manual. This is where an employee reads an address and hand sorts the mail into pigeonholes or slots. A good employee can do about 1,000 pieces an hour. Mechanical, this is where an employee reads the zip code, keys some information into the machine, and then the machine takes over. And that process runs at about 4,000 pieces an hour. And the last one is automated, where you have employees feeding the machine, emptying the machine, but the machine does all the rest of the work by reading either the address or barcode. And of course, with these automated machines, there are different speeds based on the physical size of the piece. So you probably want to know just how fast they are. Well, letter-sized machines run at 36,000 pieces per hour with only 2 people. There's a feeder, and there's a person who empties the machine. Flats, because they're bigger, run slower at about 17,000 pieces per hour, and 3 to 4 people are needed to operate that machine. And then parcels, which are all different shapes and sizes, machines run at about 6,000 an hour and require 4 to 6 people to operate it. Now, there's a couple terms I want to make sure you understand correctly, and that's the difference between automated and automation. Automated basically means that the pieces are processed on a machine. The Postal Service and many industry people call this mail machinable or machinable mail. And then there's automation. Well, automation is actually the rate you pay when the barcode is put on the piece before the Postal Service gets it. So again, automated runs on a machine. Automation, the rate you pay for pre-barcoded pieces. So we'd like to share with you a video that will kind of give you a good idea of how mail is processed throughout the USPS these days.
When someone sends a letter, it enters a system already at work that most people never get to see. The United States Postal Service processes hundreds of millions of mail pieces every day. The Postal Service delivers almost half the world's mail to over 150 million addresses through a network of thousands of post offices. These offices are supplied by a network of hundreds of processing and distribution centers around the nation. The Postal Service separates mail into 3 categories: letters, flats, and packages. Small pieces of mail, like letters, bills, and postcards, are all processed by the same set of machines. Processing letters begins with culling, or filtering out mail that cannot be handled by machines down the line due to size, shape, or weight. Letters then enter the Advanced Facer Canceller system. This machine uses specialized cameras to take pictures of envelopes as they speed by. These pictures are used by the computer to find the stamp, locate the address, read the handwriting, and compare the address against a database of known addresses. It faces the letter in the right direction, sprays it with a unique ID tag, and cancels the stamp with a postmark. The letters are then transferred to the delivery barcode sorter. Postal workers feed the letters into this machine by hand. This machine sorts letters into delivery point sequence, or the order that postal carriers will deliver them along their routes. After letters are sorted, they are moved to the loading dock. Customers often bring large bundles of magazines to distribution centers for processing. The Postal Service refers to magazines, catalogs, and similar items as flats. Large bundles of flats must be weighed and verified before they are processed. They are then taken to a preparation area. There, they are separated and ready for processing. After they are prepared, bins of flats go into the flats sequencing system, a machine the length of a football field. Flats travel along a conveyor system to a feeder, where they are removed from the bins and sent one by one to the scanning system. A high-speed camera captures images of flats to identify their delivery addresses. A computer interprets the scanned addresses and sends sequencing information to the machine's robotics system. The flats are then sorted into delivery order for postal carriers. sorted flats are then transferred to trays and automatically loaded onto carts. They are then moved to the loading dock. Packages can be particularly difficult to process by machine because they come in a wide variety of sizes and shapes. The automated package processing system is uniquely equipped to deal with this kind of mail. Packages are spread out as they move along a series of belts and rollers. As the packages enter the scanning and imaging tunnel, the machine reads their addresses. It determines the package dimensions and weight, checks for proper postage, and scans the barcode, updating the package's tracking information. The packages then travel along a conveyor before being kicked off into bins by destination. Packages are then moved to the loading dock, where they are loaded onto trucks, along with letters and flats going to the same post offices. As morning approaches, drivers deliver the sorted mail to the appropriate post offices. After the mail arrives, postal workers separate it for pickup. Carriers gather the sorted letters, flats, and packages to take out on their routes. Mail delivery connects people and businesses all across the country. Every day, technology keeps mail flowing through this constantly moving network. All systems at work.
Hello, welcome back. We hope you enjoyed that video and it gave you some insight as to how mail is processed throughout the USPS system. That was a look at one of about 250 facilities around the country. The USPS processes about 450 million pieces of mail every day, so you can see the importance of mail that is compatible with their automated equipment. Well, it's time to move on and let's take a look at mailability. So pieces that don't meet the minimum criteria or exceed the maximum criteria are non-mailable. You just can't put on extra postage or pay any kind of surcharge. These pieces are just non-mailable. So the basics are all pieces less than 1/4 inch thick must be first rectangular in shape, at least 3.5 inches high, 5 inches long, and 7 thousandths thick. And when we get into letters, this is an important thing to remember. The length is always parallel to the address when you're talking about letter size mail. So rectangular in shape is defined as opposite sides are equal in length and meet right angles. So ask yourself this question: is a square a rectangle? Well, based on this definition, a square is a rectangle. The opposite sides are equal length and they meet at right angles. which means that square mail pieces are mailable. However, they are subject to a surcharge because of other regulations. Now, if you're mailing a card, you can have an 1/8-inch radius rounded corner on the card. And if you're curious just how big an 1/8 of an inch radius is, pull out one of the plastic cards in your wallet, your ATM card, your driver's license, whatever it may be, and look at that corner. That is an 1/8-inch radius. And that is allowable when you're mailing cards. You cannot have rounded corners if you're mailing envelopes, folded self-mailers, anything of that nature. Now, once in a while, you run across die-cut or odd-shaped pieces. And they are mailable, but only through a service called Customized Marketing Mail. And we're not going to cover that during this course. However, I do want to show you 2 different mail pieces that I received at different times. And I'm not quite sure why, but all of a sudden I'm hungry. So let me show you this piece, which is actually non-mailable. Can you tell why? I'll give you a moment to think about it. Well, the answer is the corners are too rounded. They're a 1/4-inch radius, not an 1/8-inch radius. I was running a mailing department at one time, and this particular piece showed up in the department, and I had to go back to the sales rep and say, this piece is non-mailable in its current status. So we had a couple options that we talked about. One was reprinting it, and that would have been really expensive. The second one was putting it in an envelope, which would have defeated the purpose of a pretty cool design. And the third one is what we did. We took it back to the bindery. We cut an 1/8 of an inch off each side of the card. And the corners actually became square at that point in time. And the piece became mailable. So that wraps up the basics for now. If you have any questions, please send your questions to us at info@mailershub.com. We'll get back to you at our earliest opportunity. Thanks so much for watching. Up next, lesson number 2, letter size mail.